Right, so now we move on to the community board reports, and the agenda is set out with the Part A's following, but I'm going to hear from each of the community boards. They have 10 minutes to make their presentation, reference any of the Part A decisions that they want to raise, and then at the conclusion of that we'll go back through the Part A reports. So we'll start with Te Pātaka o Rākaihautū Banks Peninsula Community Board Report.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. So we're lucky to be first on the list. We're T, we're not A. So I don't know how we made the top of that list anyway. So B. Right. So if you look at our minutes that are in your agenda, there's a whole raft of things that we're dealing with down there. The decisions under delegation are considerable. The number of public forums and deputation and correspondence that come up on page 2. And so I'm just going to mention a few things from out of our report. I'd love to talk about them all. They're all very special to us, and we need to address those issues in some sort of way. But I'm just going to talk about 3 or 4 things this morning. And the first one is about the road working party that's being set up. We've just appointed 3 community members to it. It's got 2 community board members plus a councillor on it with us. But over the years, the roads on Banks Peninsula have been criticised considerably. A number of the people that have been on those roads, this is the unsealed roads of Banks Peninsula, those ones that are on southern bays, head of the harbour, those roads that are very narrow and winding, difficult to maintain, and there's been a lot of criticism. So this came out of the long-term plan process of a road maintenance working party group. So it's underway, and we have appointed the 3 community members. They were just being informed today. So it'll be interesting to see how that process works. And I think it might have been suggested that it might be used for other examples across the city if this one works. Maybe it's a template for others where there may be something that happens. I do notice that is actually a tar sealed road, so it's really not the right photograph there. I should have our road on it. But I must also acknowledge that a lot of funding has actually been spent in the last 6 months on our Banks Peninsula roads. They have done real base management work, lifted things up and added extra layers of material, and hopefully they will last better. So this will be an interesting process to work through. The next one is about our cruise ship season, and we have got, on the 1st of December, we've got 2 ships, 2 large ships. We'll have 8,000 passengers off those 2 ships in Akaroa. And it's a considerable imposition on those locals communities. It's at a weekend as well, and Andrew just happens to be talking at a Akaroa Civic Trust AGM about mass tourism. So I'm not sure whether it was organised like that or not, but certainly having that number of course there won't be the 8,000 passengers in Akaroa. There'll be some that have come through town, or some that will stay on the ship, but still it will give a good example of how the town actually copes with it, and it's not easy to deal with. So the things that we're looking for is that we're looking for a visitor plan, working with our communities to understand the issues that the cruise ships are creating for us. And it's not only the cruise ship, it's much wider, it's freedom campers and all those people that are using Banks Peninsula now. So it's a much wider issue. So we hope that we'll be able to pick up that workload and start dealing with that, and work with Christchurch and Canterbury Tourism, or Christchurch NZ, I think it is now. So moving forward with that. But our community is desperate for some work, and as a result of probably the cruise ships, we have a new Akaroa Action Group, or a new Akaroa Ratepayers Group being set up. It's never had one before, and theirs is the frustration around the cruise ships. So we've had a number of other things that have come as a result of that. We've looked at the traffic management plans around the cruise ship season, but that we've been reminded that people have to observe the road rules and travel with those conditions and deal with those conditions. So we've also had a lot of improvements around the water, the centre of the town. an upgrading of walkways and chips and things put down. So we've had some good progress for some things. We can move to the next one. Now this is in the centre of town. It doesn't actually show up terribly well, but that's just along the river's edge there, right down by the Britomart toilets. That's long grass up underneath the picnic table. It is a picnic area, parking area, and we're just struggling with maintenance across the peninsula. I don't want to pick up another Akara mail and hear that the community is actually moaning about the standards across Banks Peninsula and the work that's being done. Every Akara lately seems to have something. Residents frustrated and angry with council. I don't like seeing that. I want to look at something that we can actually work with and improve the situation, and we need to find a way of doing that. Are we creating expectations that cannot be met? We need to be changing our responsiveness for staff and communities. Is there too much planning on strategising rather than on delivery? We have got the Akara Issues Working Party, which has made a considerable difference and is making real strides in recent months with getting improvements. And we're very happy to look at the new CSR system and look forward to seeing the effectiveness of tracking requests for service. But it is a real issue that we need to find a solution to. The next one is about Godley Quay, Velas Road. This is another pressure area in Littleton. This one is where we've got Naval Point development below. We've got heavy trucks going down to the tank farm. We've got Tiana Marina. And they're looking at the roading situation just on this one little corner. We're asking that we actually start looking at that whole area down there and looking at the planning for that particular area to improve the safety for our community using it and the safety for those families that are still living in that area. We have still got families that have been there for many years, and some of them are going to be losing, or one of them is actually going to be losing their parking outside their house. They've got no place to park, so that we're looking for support to look at the wider development in that area. But we have the last report that came to the table is lying on the table until we get further information back from staff around that. So the next one, the last one on there, is about our firework permit season. That's coming up very shortly in December, no doubt. But one of our residents in our community came to talk to us about fireworks and the issues around fireworks, and because we're on Banks Peninsula, we are very, very concerned about the use of fireworks. I don't think they're actually not actually mentioned in the fire season material that comes out, but we would like it to be considered, whatever way we can find, of ensuring that fireworks is something that's not encouraged on Banks Peninsula. The bush that's around a fire can easily start, the stock, so there are good reasons why we need to be asking for support for that. So we have asked that, some council feedback on that. But those are just a few things that come out of our long list of our report to council. Where's the 10-minute time? I can't see it, is it?
You've got a couple of minutes to go, so I'll just open up for questions. Yanni.
So, thank you. It's not a new issue. It's an issue that you've raised repeatedly around the frustration around maintenance and planning for the cruise ships.
Yes.
My understanding was we set up an Akara Issues Working Party that was addressing these issues.
Yes.
Clearly that's not being successful. So what do you think it is that's causing the problem?
I did say, Yanni, that we've had some successes in the last few months.
Right.
Yes, some of those issues are being resolved, but we have been quite forceful in the recent times to get some of those over the line.
Okay, so if I could just finish. So the question really is, so you've got the working party,
yes,
and obviously having an ongoing discussion, but is there something else that's causing this problem? Is it that you've identified, such as budget or contractor performance?
Well,
we're not what can we do as a council, given that we've already, I guess, enabled the working party to be established or been told it's been set up? What is it that we can do to help try and solve the situation?
Well, we're not sure what are the levels of service, what does the contract reflect, is the contract being performed appropriately, and the audit and monitoring that goes on around this whole program. So there's a whole lot of questions that we've got about contracts.
So has the contractor come to your community board to discuss those? Right. Well, that seems to be the resolution to that, because as I understood it, all of the contracts that we entered into this time were to actually include a feedback to the local community boards. Is that right?
That's correct, but one of the issues is the Banks Peninsula is not one of the new ones, it's actually still part of the old one. But we are working very closely with the contractors and the staff are here, so we can certainly bring all that to the table. And we are initiating some of the initiatives that we've got in the new contract into the Banks Peninsula contract as well, particularly around KPIs and monitoring of those KPIs, etc., etc. So we can certainly address that in the team here and pick that up.
That would be very helpful, I think.
Does that mean that that you'll come and talk to the board about it?
Yes.
Yes, just what he said.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
And you'll be able to report on it next month.
Yeah, we want to find some
Aaron, sorry, Annie. Aaron.
Just a really simple question. When you show us an image like that one with that really long grass around the picnic table, does that get mowed by a local contractor that drives half a kilometre, or is it one that comes all the way from the city?
It will be one that comes all the way from the city.
Right, okay. Just thinking
We
about
actually tried to get a local contractor and we couldn't. So, I mean, this is this is part of the problem.
We've worked hard.
So there's not one person in Akaroa that mows lawns?
Yes, I know, and it does seem to me, and this is a conversation that we've had, as to whether we can essentially break up the contract into projects that local people could actually do. I mean, there are issues around health and safety.
Which the community board not just hire somebody to mow the lawn?
Yeah, I mean, this is
without additional contracting required.
Yeah. It's not that simple. That I have to say, the Health and Safety and Employment Act has made life very challenging for a number of issues. I spoke to the community watch people the other day at the Riccarton 30th anniversary of the Riccarton Market, and they told me that they've had a real issue in relation to compliance and training requirements and health and safety measures that they have to put in place in order to satisfy the police's obligation as the oversight of their arrangement.
But if you approach it in a different way...
Why do you think the policing centre is closed in Cathedral Square? It is a direct result of the Health and Safety and Employment Act. So I'm not going to say...
If you treat it as a volunteer approach, and you can actually reward the volunteers in a very different way, so you get out of all that conflict.
But let's take this offline. You will get a report from staff to your community board about the contracting issues in your patch in time, I hope, for the report back to the next meeting.
So it'd be a combination because it's split between parks and roads.
Yeah. David smiled then, so it's going to happen. So.
That's a grimace.
All right. So thank you very much for your presentation, and let's hope that something very positive comes from that.
I'm delighted.
Thank you.